What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing the most criminally underranked Pokemon I have seen for any meta ever, and that is Hoopa in the Naic meta. Now if you go to PvPoke and you check the rankings for this meta, out of 346 options, where do you think Hoopa lies? It's sort of an off-meta pick, so maybe it's just outside of the top 100, but there's only 346 options, so maybe it's even higher than that. Well no, apparently, according to PvPoke, this is ranked 309th. Do you want to know some Pokemon that are ranked higher than this? Totodile, Eevee, Snubbull, Drowsy, Dottler. Bro, what the heck is even a Dottler? I have never heard of this Pokemon. Apparently, it's the pre-evolution of Orbeetle, but it gets to barely 1100 CP, and somehow, all of these Pokemon that get nowhere near 1500 CP are all ranked higher than Hoopa. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But according to PvPoke, Hoopa is on Confusion, but in this meta, it's just full of Hypno and Grumpig, so Astonish is certainly the play, and Hoopa is really attack-weighted, also one of the only Ghost-type Pokemon in the meta, and you also resist the Psychic typing, so in those matchups, despite the fact that both of those Pokemon have access to Shadow Ball for coverage, Hoopa can actually shield once and then fully farm them both down, and in those matchups, you're going to come out with close to 2 Shadow Balls loaded by the time you get the full farm down, and you can offload them into whatever comes in. Now, of course, you do have to be careful of any Ghost or Dark-type fast move pressure because you are double weak to it, and it will absolutely shred through you, but most people are actually safe swapping in their Hypnos, and with Hoopa in the back, it almost feels like an instant win. And actually, I was able to go on a 12-game win streak with my first 12 battles in this meta using this team, and the things Hoopa did were honestly just insane. Now, for the rest of the team, it's made of buff Pokemon for the season, with Shadow Swanna and Kecleon, which I'm actually running Foul Play instead of Thunder Punch, mostly because I lack TMs, but also Foul Play is actually quite helpful into the plenty of Psychic types that you're going to see in this meta. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What do you think is the most criminally underrated Pokemon according to PvPoke rankings this season? Doesn't matter if it's for the Open Great League, the Ultra League, or the Naic meta, let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Shadow Swanna into Sylveon. So this is going to be a fairly neutral matchup here, but the opponent is instantly going to swap into Hypno, and this is what I'm talking about. We're resisting Confusion damage, the opponent goes for the Shadow Ball straight away, which means we get the full Astonish in for free, and now we can shield once, commit to the full farm down, and we come out so close to back-to-back Shadow Balls already. The opponent is thinking about what to do. They're likely going to come back in with the Sylveon, but I can fire off one Astonish, and then full send the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball, gonna connect, it does huge damage, but we're not done just yet. We're actually going to swap into Kecleon to catch the Charge Move, as this just will be a Side Shock, which maybe Hoopa could have lived, but their final Pokemon gonna be a Grumpig, and that is already game over, as we can go for the Foul Play. Foul Play, gotta be shielded, of course, because if they no shield there, even if it was a Thunder Punch, Hoopa can just fully farm them down, but actually, we can still commit to a fast move farm down anyways, as we come back in with the Hoopa. They do just barely reach a last-second Charge Move. You know what? I'm gonna no shield this. I'm gonna let Shadow Swanna do something. As we come in, we Gust farm down the Grumpig, we Gust farm down the Sylveon as well, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle. We're going to see Shadow Swanna into a Kecleon. So, of course, I expect them to have Thunder Punch. They might not. They might also run Foul Play or something similar. Either way, I look to overfarm here because I didn't want to, well, basically, I wanted to try and get an extra Gust in if they tried to throw the Thunder Punch straight away, but actually, they overfarmed and then threw on CMP anyways. So, Shadow Swanna gonna win CMP, which means actually, in even shield scenarios, it looks like we will always win this matchup, despite the fact that they do have access to Thunder Punch. And here, I'm happy to take a shield advantage. I've hopefully put them into range where Kecleon can come in and farm down the opposing Kecleon, and then come out with a decent amount of energy. So we're going to come in with the Kecleon. Looks like they do lag slightly there, but it doesn't really matter too much. They wouldn't have reached the Thunder Punch, but they're now going to come in with a Duo. They do make a really nice catch there, actually catching a Dynamic Punch, which honestly they probably weren't going for because, you know, we should be running Thunder Punch there, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, we can come in with the Hoopa, and you already know the story. We can just go for the full farm down as we shield up the Shadow Ball. We come out with our own Shadow Ball loaded, and this is going to deal so much damage here. Shadow Ball, gonna get the KO there, taking out the Duo from pretty much full health, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Duo in the lead this time around. This Pokemon is actually pretty common in this meta because there are, of course, a lot of Psychic types, and it does have access to both Fury Cutter and X is a 4 coverage. But Swanna, really good matchup here, as of course I am going to resist everything they can possibly throw, and I'm going to go for an Arc-Jet here. Arc-Jet is resisted, however, from this range, it does just narrowly get the knockout. Now they're going to come in with a Hypno. I'm going to swap out into Kecleon, and once again, they're going to have a double Psychic backline, which Hoopa is honestly just licking its lips right now. We're going to go for a Foul play. They don't shield there. Now here, honestly, I don't know why I bother shielding this, just because Hoopa could come in, fully farm them down very comfortably, but we're going to shield here. We're going to force the opponent to throw some energy. Doesn't really matter too much. The opponent just going to go likely for a Thunder Punch. We can now go for one Sucker Punch, fire off the foul play, and then my switch clock is now coming up, so I'm going to swap back into Hoopa. The opponent, they're going to have to full send a Shadow Ball here, which means if they do, they are definitely not reaching another charge move, and even if they did bait with a Thunder Punch there, they're not getting to another move anyways. We get the full farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. It is worth saying that I did these battles by the time you're seeing this video probably quite a few days ago, so the meta might have shifted a little bit since then. I did these battles because I'm going on holiday in just a few days time, and by the time you're seeing this, I will already be on holiday, so I'm kind of pre-recording quite a lot of content here. But either way, we are going to shield. They go for a Twister there, which is actually great news for me because it means Shadow Swanna would be able to win CMP the next time around as well, because they will pace the same. However, they're going to swap into a Miltank, and here we're going to come in with our Kecleon. So I'm going to no-shield this, as this is just going to be another Body Slam, which we can tank relatively comfortably. You can see my Kecleon IVs aren't really ideal here. Of course, Kecleon not a super common spawn. You kind of just have to get it from Pokestops here and there when it is going to attach itself. But either way, we're going to no-shield this, and of course, a Body Slam will get the knockout. Now, Hoopa unfortunately doesn't have any fast move pressure into a normal type Pokemon whatsoever. However, they also don't really have much charge move pressure. They have to full send a Thunderbolt. I'm now actually eventually going to swap into my Shadow Swanna, but this is just going to be a Body Slam, so that's absolutely fine with me. That's double resisted. I swap into Swanna, and we put them into range where we can farm them down. Now, this is huge for me. The opponent goes for Body Slam. They're going to swap back into Pidgeot, but we've now got the Psychic. It's not the best move, but Psychic actually puts them into perfect farm down range. Their final Pokemon gonna be a Hypno, and it's the same story once again. Shadow Ball gonna get the one shot, and we can also Resisted, Astonish, farm down the Miltank as well to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle. I can see Shadow Swanna into Zangoose. So this is going to be a pretty decent matchup for me, as they're on Fury Cutter, once again, for all of the Psychic-type Pokemon. They've also got access to Night Slash, and Night Slash is going to hit pretty hard here, but they then swap into a Furfrou. So I'm going to go for a Fly. Fly going to do more damage than an Aqua Jet. It grabs a shield, and now we're going to come in with the Kecleon. I'm going to shield the first charge move here, as I don't want to get too low, because Furfrou is going to deal insane fast move pressure into my Hoopa, and of course we have no way of fast move farming them down with the Astonish damage as well. So we're going to go for a Dynamic Punch, and they actually double shield. So I'm also going to be forced to double shield here. I can't get too low with the Kecleon. We will eventually put them into range where we can foul play them, but actually I'm going to swap out and catch the charge move onto my Swanna. You could argue I maybe should have just thrown the charge move anyways, but now we can commit to the full farm down, and let's see what they want to do. We go for the farm down. We've got a lot of energy. The opponent comes back in with the Zangoose, so I'm just going for a foul play. Foul play, gonna get the knockout, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Grumpig. So once again, we can chip with a foul play here. Foul play, gonna hit for super effective. We come in with the Hoopa, unfortunately just narrowly not getting the full farm down before they reach a Shadow Ball, and all shields are down. That easily gets the one shot, but Kecleon can just come back in, Sucker Punch, farm down the Grumpig, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. See Oink alone in the lead. That is a great matchup for me, but the opponent gonna make things even better for me, as now they swap into a Hypno. Once again, we can shield once and then commit to a full Astonish farm down. I think pretty much every single Hypno did full send a Shadow Ball straight away, which, because of the timing there, always allows me to get the Astonish in for free, and I do always get the full farm down. Here, we're gonna go for a Psychic. Psychic, unfortunately, just not that great of a charge move. If this thing had something like Psyshock instead, this thing honestly would be unstoppable, but they're gonna swap out. We come in with our Swanna, and they come in with a Kecleon, but we get a zero-turn swap there, which means we're always going to be slightly ahead, and we've already seen this in neutral situations when shields are even. We're in a pretty good matchup, but I'm actually going to no-shield here. Instead, I realized that if the opponent wants to, they could probably double shield and potentially Sucker Punch farm me all the way down. So instead, we're going to come in with our own Kecleon, go for the foul play. All we have to do here is make sure the opponent does not make a catch onto their Oink alone, which is pretty low in HP. So we're going to look out for the potential catch, but the opponent actually swaps out just slightly too soon there, which backfires for them, because now we've got the foul play, gonna get the knockout, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG to my into next battle. I'm going to see Shadow Swanner once again into Duo. So again, this is a really good matchup for me as we are going to resist everything. But again, they swap into Hypno and oh my gosh, it's just too easy right now. We're going to shield here. The opponent, once again, going to full send the Shadow Ball, which means we can now just commit to a full Astonish farm down. And again, we come out with so much loaded energy. They're going to come back in with the Duo. That's fine with me. We've got very close to back-to-back Shadow Balls. First one, grabs a shield. We've already seen Shadow Ball pretty much one-shots them from full health. Shadow Ball barely doesn't get the KO there. I guess this Duo is just slightly better in IVs, but either way, doesn't really matter. I'm going to come in with the Kecleon. Their final Pokemon is actually not going to be the Grumpig I was expecting, but either way, Kecleon going to have an easy matchup there as well. Shadow Swanner going to resist the Mud Slap damage, and so they just concede the match. Into next battle, another Duo in the lead. So this is once again a great matchup for me. The opponent going to choose to stay in here and fire off a charge move. The opponent going to go for the X's there, which is quite strange. But then they swap into a Volt Switch along the Raichu. So that did huge damage there. However, once again, we can come in with the Hoopa. Whilst, yes, these Volt Switches are dealing decent damage, we get the full farm down again as they come back in with the Duo. So we're going to go for a Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball should get the KO. And the opponent is actually just going to no-shield that. But now they come in with an Oink alone. Unfortunately, we barely don't reach a Psychic. However, Shadow Ball is actually going to grab a shield from the opponent anyways, and Shadow Swanner does have a charge move already loaded. So here, I probably should be able to go for 2 Gusts and reach another charge move here because the Mud Slaps, they are non-stab, but I'm not going to take any risks. We've grabbed the final shield, so now I might as well just come in with my Kecleon. Presumably, they go for Trailblaze first, which they do, but that's absolutely fine with me. We can go for a Dynamic Punch, but I do want to throw on good timing here, and by the time we do end up throwing after one more Sucker Punch, Dynamic Punch, it's super effective damage, it is non-stab, but it will be enough damage to take out the Oink alone, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG to there into next battle. I can see Shadow Swanner into a Florges. So this is going to be a neutral matchup here. Of course, our Gusts are really going to add up over time. The opponent likely going to go for a Trailblaze here, so I will end up shielding this. The opponent does go for Trailblaze, but again, they end up swapping into a Alolan Raichu. So again, we take huge damage, but because I shielded the charge move this time around, Shadow Swanner still has a decent amount of HP. And again, we can shield once, go for the full farm down. They're going to come in again with an Oink alone. So very similar team here. Same backline, actually. But either way, Psychic, gonna deal decent damage. The opponent will, however, be able to farm down, but no, they don't commit to it. Instead, throwing the charge move. They go for Trailblaze, boosting up their attack stat, but we come in with our Shadow Swanner, and we can farm to back-to-back Aqua Jets. First one should be grabbing the first shield here, but they're gonna have to double shield if they want to get off their charge move up against our Shadow Swanner, and they likely are gonna want to get off this charge move because, of course, they've got no fast move pressure with the Oink alone. So they go for Trailblaze, but that's fine with me. We can come in with a Kecleon. They could go for a Chilling Water here, but honestly, I don't really mind. Oink alone is going to be in range where even if we're debuffed, we should be able to KO with a Dynamic Punch, but actually they go for the Trailblaze. Doesn't really matter then. Dynamic Punch gets the KO. We can Sucker Punch, farm down the Florges, and we're able to take that game. So, GG to there into next battle. We see Shadow Swanner into a Galarian Slowking. So we do have 2 Pokemon with Dark or Ghost type fast move pressure in the back. So I'm going to say swap into Kecleon. And I'm actually met with a Miltank, which is a very good matchup for the Kecleon. However, of course, Miltank is a very spammy Pokemon. And if I don't bait at all here, there is a chance they can flip this matchup in the 2-shield scenario. As you can see, actually, because they stayed in and applied some acid fast move pressure with the Slowking, I'm actually going to be in range, but a second Body Slam will pretty much get the knockout. So here, I am going to overfarm. I don't really want to double shield, though, because I believe Slowking does have access to Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball is definitely going to one-shot my Hoopa. So instead, I'm actually going to allow them to flip that matchup. We come in with the Shadow Swanner, and I think this is just going to be a Body Slam. However, I'm actually going to shield anyways. I'm not going to take any risk. I'm then going to swap into my Hoopa and catch a potential Body Slam. Body Slam, of course, is double resisted. They come back in with the Slowking, but we apply huge damage with the Astonishes here. The opponent, of course, is going to full send the Shadow Ball, but we can come back in with the Shadow Swanner. I'm going to overfarm here, farming up to at least back-to-back Aqua Jets before throwing the charge move. Aqua Jet gets the knockout, and let's see what they've got in the back. Shadow Swanner is going to need to sweep this game here. They're going to come in with a Pelipper. I wait just one turn just to make sure they don't swap out and make a catch there. Fly gets the knockout. That is huge for me because now we can just go for the Gust farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Blastoise in the lead. So, not the worst matchup for me, but because they do have super effective fast food pressure, I am going to swap into my Kecleon, and the opponent's going to swap out there, but they swap into Grumpig. Of course, probably not expecting foul play here, but foul play, well, they're going to shield anyway, so I guess maybe they were expecting it. But either way, we're going to go for a second foul play here. Foul play number 2, I'm going to get them very low, and it's also a CMP tie. This one, I'm actually happy to let Kecleon go down. I can come in with this one. Honestly, I thought maybe I'd need 2 gusts to get the farm down there, so I don't get as much energy as I was hoping for, but I'm going to shield. The opponent full sends a Skull Bash there, so definitely glad I shielded. We're now going to go for a Fly. A Fly, even though they are buffed in their defense, should get the knockout anyways, so the opponent uses a shield, but this is just going to be a Hydro Cannon. So I'm going to no-shield this. It does get me very low, so I swap into my Hoopa. Their final Pokemon is a Shadow Claw Floraligator. Not easy for me to say, a Shadow Claw for Alligator, so they're dealing huge damage with the fast moves, but it's a non-shadow, so I can tank it. Shadow Ball gets the knockout. The Blastoise, they have to throw some energy, but I believe they are in range where a single gust will get the knockout. So of course, we just need to live the rollout damage, which we're able to do. Gust gets the farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's over there. Into next battle, we're going to see Miltank in the lead here. So, not the best matchup for me, but we're going to stay in initially here. I'm then going to bank the energy. I tried to catch a Thunder Punch. Oh, sorry, not a Thunder Punch, a Thunderbolt. It doesn't work out for me, but the opponent is going to stay in. Chip with a Body Slam. Actually going to go for back-to-back Body Slams here. Potentially, they don't have the best answer to a Kecleon save swap, so they're just going to choose to stay in here. They then come in with Mantine, and unfortunately, this is where I'm going to miss having Thunder Punch. Foul Play, just really not going to deal much damage, whereas Thunder Punch would have hit for double super effective, and it would have very comfortably two-shot them. Actually, a single Thunder Punch would have got them very low, but we do at least force a CMP tie. So, Twister, gonna get the knockout. We're gonna come back in with the Shadow Swanna. Can't quite go for a full farm down before they reach another Twister, so I am just gonna settle for an Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet, gonna get the knockout. They come back in with the Miltank, and here I'm just going straight for another Aqua Jet. Not throwing on the best timing, but I want to grab a shield here, and now I'm actually gonna shield my Swanna and hopefully put them into range where I can Astonish farm them down. We can't quite swap out just yet, but we're going to no-shield this, and now I will be able to Astonish farm them down, and I don't think they'll reach a Thunderbolt either, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Hypno, so it doesn't really matter, as we go straight for Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets the one-shot, we can Astonish farm them down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle, and we're going to see Shadow Swanna into a Kecleon. So, we've already seen this. We do actually win this matchup in the 2-shield scenario. I think maybe in the 1-shield scenario, we do narrowly lose, but this time around, going for the extra gust does pay off as they throw straight away, which means now we can look to overfarm here. I'm honestly not really sure why I swap out and make a catch. I honestly should have just thrown a charge move there, look to grab a shield or just get the knockout, because Kecleon, despite being that low, is actually still going to be really problematic for my Hoopa, as there's just no way we can farm them down, and we're going to take huge damage from the Sucker Punches. So yeah, while Swanna does have a lot of energy, it's not really that helpful for me, especially since they come in with a double, and they farmed up to back-to-back charge moves. So I've got back-to-back Flies here. I am going to throw this. Fly is going to do more damage than the Aqua Jet, but it just narrowly doesn't quite get the knockout, and that is really bad for me. I'm forced to shield this. I'm going to swap into my Hoopa, and unfortunately, Hoopa just had no play into this team. Finally, they're going to have a team that is triple strong to it. Hydro Cannon gets the knockout there. I'm going to try and farm up to back-to-back charge moves, but actually, if the opponent wants to shield here, Shadow Claw will register. It will take out the Swanna, and we finally end up losing a game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.